Hey pre-calc, we're talking about quadratic functions today in lesson 2.1, and we're typically using quadratics in the form f of x is equal to ax squared plus bx plus c. But today our essential question is asking us if we could write it in standard form. Standard form is going to be a new form for a lot of you. The things that we know about quadratics, the first thing we know, it's a U-shaped curve. We call that a parabola. We also know that they are symmetric in regards to the axis of symmetry. And the vertex is at a minimum or a maximum. So let's start looking at the first question. It just says to sketch and compare the graphs of these two things. Y is equal to x squared. And h of x is equal to 5/2 x squared. So I'm going to start by graphing the first one. And I always like to explain the pattern: over 1, up 1, over 1, up 3, over 1, up 5. And these numbers 1, 3, 5, those all come from x squared. Think about it. 1, 4, 9, 16. Whenever you think of the odd numbers, inside your x squared, 1 squared, 2 squared, 3 squared, there is a pattern of odd numbers, and these odds are going to be what really is what we use whenever we think of x squared. All right, so let's graph this. I'm going to graph it in green. We're going to start on 0, 0, and we're going to use this pattern. Over 1, up 1, over 1, up 3. Because it's symmetrical, we're going to do it the other side. Over 1, up 1, over 1, up 3. Now, we also have to graph the other side. The other side has a number in front of it. That number is 5/2. So we are going to multiply everything through by 5/2, all those ups by 5/2. All right, and then we're going to multiply this one also by 5/2. So notice this is going to go up significantly. It's still going to be at 0, 0, but then this is 5 over 2. So it's going over 1 up 2.5. And then the next one is 15 over 2, which is 7.5. So this is going to shoot straight up, which is called a stretch, because it is a number greater than 1. And that is what the graphs will look like. This is the part we need to go over of standard form. A lot of you forget the standard form of a quadratic equation. It is this: f of x is equal to a times x minus h quantity squared plus k. A cannot equal 0 because then it will just be a linear. Remember that if a is greater than 0, the parabola will open up. If a is less than 0, it will open down. The axis is a vertical line at x equals, and the vertex is at point HK. A lot of you know how to do this, but come to chapter 2 test, we do it so early, you forget this equation. So let's learn how to do this. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to write this with a y. Y equals 2x squared plus 8x plus 7. And remember, we want it in this form: x minus h quantity squared plus k. Our very first step is we're going to get the 7 over by subtracting it. And I'm going to kill two birds with one stone by taking out, because we want to complete the square here. I'm going to take out a 2, and when I do that, I'm going to complete the square. And remember, what I add to one side, I add to the other. We're going to look at that b term. Half of the b term is 2. 2 squared is 4. What I add to one side, remember here I didn't really add 4, I added 2 times 4, which is 8. So the actual equation I'm going to work with is y plus 1 equals 2. And remember, we want to make this a perfect square. This perfect square is going to be x plus 2. Now students, you could show it like this unless they specifically ask you to show it in this form with the 1 on the right side. In my class, I am not concerned about which way to show it, just as long as you know that it has to be subtracted over. All right, so we need to graph this, talk about the vertex. The vertex is going to be at the HK. This is the H. When it's in parentheses, we take the opposite. This is the K. -2, -1. So I'm going to start by graphing -2, -1. I know that from my parent functions. From here, it's going to have an A of 2. So I'm going to go over 1, up 2, over 1, up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, over 1, up 2, over 1, up 6. So it has a pretty good stretch of 2. And remember, they tell us that the axis of symmetry is a line that folds the parabola that will make it symmetrical. In this case, the line is x equals -2. All right, and notice they also told us if the A term was positive, it would open upward. Our parabola does open up or upward. So I think all of our things that we were supposed to do are finished. We named the vertex, axis of symmetry, and we graphed. Great job today.